We have good minutes. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the minutes as written. Is there a second? Tim seconds. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay.
I'm abstaining, so I wasn't
Sure.
there,
Vicky abstains.
but I like the minutes.
All right, so that's done. Let's go on to the steep slopes. Would you like to, you can stay there, or you can bring
Okay.
a chair up? or
Okay.
Bring up a chair and sit at the table with us. So this is Greg Hartmann, for anybody who doesn't know.
Should we introduce ourselves?
Sure, let's go around.
Okay, I'm Dave Robbins,
Yeah.
Planning and Zoning Administrator.
Dave Conlon, I'm a select board member.
Matt Niles, alternate.
John Stadler.
Tim Cook. Member.
Vicky Smith, member.
My name is Rich Brown.
I'm Rich Mengy.
Judy Clinton.
And we have David Lutz, who is from Solaflex, on Zoom.
Okay, so how many people got out there? That's great. All right, so is there anything you wanted to say before? So first of all, we're just advisory.
Sure.
And the zoning board will make the decision. But if there's anything you wanted to say.
Sure, thank you, everyone, and again, I apologize for miscommunication about the last meeting, but the water under the bridge. So the place we would like to put them in, we understand doesn't meet the zoning requirements because of slope, and therefore needs to qualify for the special exemption. And in reviewing the things that Dave provided to us, the criteria that we had to meet was one of them is, what are the best alternatives on the site? And Dave did a analysis to show the other sites, while feasible physically, the drop-off is in production because of their orientation is considerable, and if not, they will require a fair amount of tree removal, again, suboptimal. But probably the biggest thing is they're thousands of feet from the actual power line, so we would need to trench an extremely long way. So if the point is erosion, we're actually gonna cause more disruption. The site we've chosen, while steep, is immediately adjacent to the buried conduits that run up to the main house. So the amount of construction necessary would be obviously taking the installation machine up to do, I think Dave had said, and Dave would probably comment better, helical screw type of attachments, and then connecting to the existing conduits and or down through to bring the power back. So kind of as a balance of, if the point of the appropriate zoning is to prevent erosion, the other projects and the alternatives, as I believe what would be suggested I do, actually pose more erosion complications than the site we're choosing. In addition, it's below the sight line of our house, it's below the sight lines of the adjacent house, and even of anyone looking in from Vermont on the site. They're kind of down the hill, so from an aesthetic point of view to the community, it's a least impacting site as well.
Okay. And did Mr. Lutz want to say anything, or is he just want to?
Did I characterize the installation details beyond what we've talked about them, but if I mischaracterized, please.
No, you did well. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's coming through? Good. Yeah, the sites on the slope would be very short trench relative to the installation of any other location, because we would have to trench quite a distance from those alternate sites, which actually are less exposure as well. They don't have as high, as Greg had mentioned, we'd have to clear trees to even bring it close to what the south-facing slope is offering. And it's essentially about 100-foot trench from the trackers down the hill to where the meter pedestal is, and that's where we would make the interconnection. We wouldn't tie directly into the line that's buried all the way up to the house. We would trench it to the meter pedestal and connect there. So that saves a lot of trenching, and also we would not trench up the slope at all, because it would be very difficult to get all the way to the top of the hill. I'm sure when they installed the power the first time, it was quite a chore, but we would be essentially just going down the hill to the meter pedestal.
Okay. Are there questions from the board?
Yeah,
Please.
why is it necessary to trench down to the metered pedestal? As, I understood that there was a separate open conduit there?
No, there's no, we would put our own conduit in the ground with a data line as well. We could actually, the plan is that we'll interconnect the electrical to the meter, there's a meter disconnect. And because there is a generator at the house, we can't actually tie directly into the main panel of the house. We'd have to tie in to like the transfer switch or whatever. It just makes more sense to tie it in between the meter and the main disconnect that's there at the meter base, at the meter pedestal. And then there is conduit that we can pull the fiber optic line up to tie into the internet at the house. So we would actually use the cable or phone line that's a non-voltage, a low voltage line, basically, to pull the data line up through. It seems big enough, it's about 1.5 inch conduit, and we could pull that small wire through it.
So you couldn't go in both directions through that existing conduit?
Not likely with the electrical, because the electrical is I believe a 2-aught wire. There's not enough room in that conduit to pull another wire up through it. We would just tie in directly to the meter pedestal, and then actually the current from the solar does flow through that service line because it's past the meter, and it's flowing up into the house. Anything that's not used comes back through the meter, then into the grid.
Okay, any other questions?
I just wonder what the, so I was looking at the steep slope district uses, and I see access ways are allowed there, but I don't see other residential uses. So I was wondering how we cite that.
So what page is that?
So, on page 28 in the zoning ordinance, and, you know, we have your permitted uses, forestry, agriculture, wildlife, parks and rec and all that. And then if you go to page 29, there's the special exceptions, and access ways are allowed, but, and roads like driveways, but it doesn't seem to have something else that like residential, other residential stuff. So I was just wondering how that got dealt with.
It would fall under the, item 4 is provided by Article 8.
Mm-hmm.
And so Article 8,
So Article 8 is
8.20
non-conforming
46?
uses?
yeah, 824.
Expansion of existing structures and construction of accessory buildings into the conservation districts, okay.
And so that's where the zoning board would look to, or that would be the special exception I would be, or we are going to ask the zoning board for.
Well, this is a, okay, so this is an accessory structure. Well, but it's not, it doesn't say anything about the uses. That's the thing, is that, you know, agriculture, forestry structures or accessories. I mean, you're the person who makes these
I
interpretations. But
absolutely
just-
consider a solar tracker an accessory structure.
Oh, yeah, me too. It's a solar it's an accessory structure, but, it's not like supporting a permitted use. So, I think it's, our zoning ordinance is unclear about that. And that's something that we really haven't dealt with and need to. So, I'm just pointing that out as a shortcoming, I believe, here.
So for clarity, are you suggesting that it would be appropriate to have a special exception to permit this?
Well, I kind of think it's a use variance situation, but I'm not the zoning administrator, so what I'm saying is that you can put existing ag structures or accessory buildings in there, but not residential, because it's not one of the uses that's allowed. So, but that's just, you know, kind of splitting hairs, but I'm not gonna, I don't make that interpretation, I'm just making sure that this is consistent with how we've been, and I've spent $30,000 putting solar on my house, so it's not like I'm not supportive of solar, but I'm just pointing this out as at least it's not clear to me, and that we need to address that.
Well, we're gonna be making it
Well, I know
we are
haven't-
addressing.
We haven't really dealt with the conservation districts, but I think this is a shortcoming, because I don't see how it's clearly allowed. But, if that's how it's always been interpreted, then, you know, we need to stay with
So
that.
when we get around to drafting our
Yeah.
final solar thing, we
Right.
could add, we should have a
We
little
need to
note,
make
we
that
ought to add a
clear.
little
We need to make it clear.
subsection here. that-
Right.
It's not clear.
So, what we,
But I wanna make
David,
sure that
so
David's-
this is going to your interpretation, so,
Yeah.
so what is your,
Well, I look at it, you know, reading it, expansion of existing structure or construction of accessory buildings or accessory structures, I would consider that.
where are you reading from?
824 on page 47. And I would consider this to be a accessory structure.
I totally agree.
And
I just don't think it's clearly a use that's permitted, but, you know, if we're all good with going forward, let's just go forward and make sure we address it. And I don't know if you wanna ask the use question of the zoning board, just give them to like stamp it and say this is fine, you know.
But yeah, it doesn't, I think it is very unclear that it doesn't, you know, discuss the different uses, it just says accessory structures. And-
So what we have is something that's not clear.
Yeah.
So, have we done, or has the zoning board dealt with something like
So
this?
they look at it just as plain language and say, okay, is it, you know, accessory to, you know,
So why don't we go ahead with our, this is my thought, why don't we go ahead with our advisory opinion and leave that up to the zoning board?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
What, was there concern about erosion and the issue of a trench going down the hill?
So, yeah,
And-
so,
And if so, then what do we think about?
well, I guess my question would be to both of you, how are you planning on addressing potential erosion?
We've been in touch with an erosion specialist from, is based out of the Concord area, actually over in Maine too, but they, the plan is that we're gonna put in some erosion control, because the area already is eroding. If you've been there at the site visit, it's just the soil is basically lacking any good fertile grounding for something to grow. So they're gonna put in hydro seeding, which would have a mixture of fertilizer, soil components that would help the seedlings take root, and we would likely put some sort of seed mixture that would actually be kind that has deep roots, so that it would actually dig into the soil and prevent it from eroding. The specialist felt very confident. I think I have a letter from him I can put up for you if you're interested, but he felt it was very confident that if they mixed the proper hydro seeding, it would take very likely, it's important to put it in, he's felt, before it gets too late in the year. And also, he didn't want to put it in the middle of the summer, although this summer's been kind of odd in the fact that it's been very wet. But typically, he felt September, October was the best time to put it in.
But
So the
that's,
plan is,
that's actually the erosion area that's not specific to this project. This area that would need to be trenched does have vegetation in growth and is not really eroding. There's clearly a part that Rusty denuded up the bank, and we intend to address that, much of that with the help of the consultant that Dave engaged. Because, but in truth to the project, the area itself is not actually denuded right now, so that there shouldn't be, any more than, it's like a ditch, type of trench down through there, which obviously has some, but we're planning to ideally mitigate as much of the erosion on the whole property, because that's, we wanna have those, so one specific to the project, there isn't really a big erosion, anything more than might be reasonably expected, but there's clearly other areas that need to be addressed and we plan to address as part of the project.
Okay, but because even if it's a dip switch, is that?
Ditch
Ditch, yeah.
Ditch witch.
Ditch witch.
A switch.
Yeah.
One of those things. It is really steep there, so there, obviously.
We're gonna hydroseed and put some dams and do some other things.
Yeah, I mean, the more.
Very
you-
much specific to the trench, but the larger project is to engage, and to address the real erosion project, which is up the rest of the slope, but not specific to this variance or
So
exception.
the gentleman that you had, or the person that you had come in from Concord to look at that slope, felt that the vegetation on that slope would really sustain reasonable erosion control. Was that the?
His main address and the recommendation that Dave got from him were pertaining to the big hydroseeding of the area kind of up the hill more that is starting to grow in, but definitely needs more direct addressing. But the slope itself, there's enough, that's not eroding, there's not trenches and.
So he did comment on that, and he
Yeah.
was confident that
That will grow in.
that was not gonna be
yeah.
an issue.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
I'm sorry I didn't go to visit your
Sure.
site, but my question is, there's normal flow over a surface, and then there's, with a ditch, you get, channel going into the ditch, and so is there a way to divert water so that you don't get more water going down there?
I mean, the ditch is only exist until it's filled in, so there's not really, there will be a denuded part where the ditch was dug, but there's not a trench remaining once the conduit is installed. And that part would get hydroseeded, and he had suggested, given the slope of it, you put some dams to arrest the flow of
Or even
water
above it,
prior
just
to the-
divert, so. 'cause
yeah,
it's-
prior to it
Yeah.
regrowing in
Right.
that particular area.
Because
and then-
loose dirt is not stable,
Yes.
even,
Yes.
and so you just need to try to, it's very fragile, but once you do your vegetation.
We had a combination of dams, he had suggested, and
Yep.
then
That's a great
some
idea.
diversion up top. I think the plan is to probably there's a terrace there already where but to probably make that more of a flat terrace so that doesn't continue to have a
Yeah.
slope to rate.
And you don't even need to do grading,
Yeah.
just putting core logs or
Yeah.
hay bales,
Yeah.
to do the diversion, and those things will rot away.
Yeah,
and
they had
it'll be
actually
gone.
even suggested willow branches because they actually sprout and
Yep.
so we'll,
Yeah,
It seems that the main issue probably is whether adding 2 solar trackers would increase the erosion on the hillside. And it doesn't, I guess in my mind, it doesn't seem like it would. Or in other words, I think it could be controlled with those trackers there.
yeah, I mean, I think that's why we're discussing measures that can be taken to.
Right, but the question is whether adding those would make it a problem, and it doesn't seem like they would.
Okay. Yeah,
So we've talked about the trench, what about the actual installation of the trackers? Are you bringing heavy equipment in to install those, and how does that heavy equipment react to the slope? Are you going to be changing the slope in order to access the tractor construction and then future maintenance of the tracker?
There will not be heavy equipment after the tracker installation. It's just the installation will require an excavator to carry it's like a 9,000-pound precast foundation up the hillside to the point where we locate the trackers. And there will be a digging for the place to put the foundations in, and of course the trench bringing the wiring down the hill across the driveway. But I don't foresee that they would have to do, I mean, they're carrying the foundations will be, it's a big excavator. It'll make, but we will clear, when we come back, basically to clean up our mess. I'm sure it'll be disturbed soil, but it's basically very loose soil right now. It's not a firm clay or anything like that. There'll be some, I can't say that's gonna be perfectly undisturbed with an excavator. It's obviously gonna do, but it's gonna make two passes, basically carrying two foundations up, digging the holes, and then trenching down the hill to the electrical interconnection, and then it's done. And then the actual installation of the solar panels, it's all manually. We hand carry the solar panels and mount them up there. So it's just human traffic for that one day that they do that, and then virtually untouched after that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So could I just ask a little more clarification on that? So you're gonna be like clearing a access way for the excavator to get up, and is that gonna require filling and stabilization when you
I think it can just go up the hill, I don't think they clear anything, you just drive it up the hill.
just drive it up the
Yeah,
hill?
there's no, it's steep, but the excavator can carry it up,
Okay,
just going straight up the hill.
cool, okay.
Okay, so what we need to do is draft our talking points that we're gonna send to the zoning board. So, I think my sense is that we all feel like this, going through the criteria, this 824, 824A, B, I'm sorry, no, 462B, there's A and B, and tell me if I've got the right number, but B is cannot reasonably be located outside the steep slopes district and will be done in the least intrusive manner. I think this is a reasonable location, given the alternatives, and that among the objectives is to protect natural areas and protect wildlife habitat. They would have to cut down trees, and this seems like a much better place. So I think we can if you agree, we can say that this is a reasonable, this fulfills B as it's a reasonable alternative. Is that okay with everybody? All right, so reasonable, that's always a good start. And I'm sensing that really, it's the erosion, which is the first objective, to prevent soil erosion, is the main concern. So, do we want to say in the discussion we just had here, that we think that that's the main challenge, and that the applicant is willing to take measures to address that, and that the zoning board can say what they want, basically? Is that, yeah?
Well, could we perhaps suggest that the zoning board get something in writing from the applicant, confirming what they've told us, so that it's part of the application?
We can,
You can ask them to have the applicant provide an erosion control plan.
yeah, that's a good,
And I think that can be.
Yeah, I think, Dave, we already have that.
Yep, and just
Yep.
stating that you're gonna you know, have the dams, hydro seed, everything, you know, that, just have it in writing. And
Sure.
if you wanna give that to me, if you have it already, then I can even just include it as part of the application.
So, I mean, I think those are the two main things.
I have another just brief question. So, is that other house that's served by that same driveway, is that a separate lot
Yes,
from yours?
yes.
And so, will that person get notified of this?
Of the ZBA
Yeah,
here,
they're
absolutely.
a butter.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Yep.
So is that gonna happen at a different stage of this?
That'll happen for the zoning board meeting.
That'll happen, the, second Thursday, 21st, I believe, is September. And they will get a certified letter from me, stating what's happening and saying that they have the right to come to the meeting.
Would they also perhaps get something that would indicate that the planning board, I don't know, maybe provide the input from the planning board, so?
Then, if they come to the meeting, then that will be provided to the zoning board.
I'm thinking that they would get it. I think one of the concerns could be that they might say, well, they might interpret the rules as, well, it's not allowed, so I don't think I really need to come to the hearing, so, if it's not
You know,
convenient
that-
for them or something, but
Why
if they
why
actually.
would they, I mean, if they could interpret it that way, but the meeting is still being held, I don't understand why they wouldn't come.
Well, if they happen to look at the zoning rules and they interpret it as Vicky
Yeah,
has
well,
indicated.
but that's,
They would think that they don't need to show up because it's not
but
allowed.
if it's scheduled, I don't see that as likely, because even if they interpreted it that way,
And they'll
if
be
it's,
told,
if it's scheduled and they're
Yeah,
they're
how's that?
concerned, they would show up.
How's that worded there? Does it say that the ZBA is gonna be deciding on this?
yeah, they're gonna be holding a hearing, for a special exception under the 824 and then given the information for two solar trackers in the trench,
Mhm.
time and date of the hearing.
Right, and they are certainly welcome to come in and look at all the
Yep,
documentation.
all the stuff is there.
Good.
I
So
do
it
tend to
seems-
find that a lot of times adding a lot of extraneous information is far more confusing to people than giving them the basic information and letting them
Mhm.
decide.
It would seem like if they had a sense that it might not be consistent with the current ordinance, that would be an incentive to come in
Exactly.
and actually
Yeah.
argue the point, if that was their inclination, which it might not be at all.
Right.
So in terms of this letter, do we wanna hash that out, or do we want to assign it to, I'd be willing to write out the letter if you're willing to have me do it. I'm basically gonna just focus on the two things of the reasonableness and the advisability of the applicant supplying an erosion control plan.
So John, you're gonna say, the planning board recommends this
Yeah.
because of, recommends approval because of these
Yes.
reasons,
Yeah.
no other place.
Yeah,
And please put erosion controls in.
yeah,
So make sure there's a plan for,
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right, and I was trying to make the point before, that the runoff from the trackers, the water coming off the trackers, doesn't seem to be an issue.
Oh,
Isn't
the
gonna-
wa- I see
isn't
the
gonna-
water.
That's what I was trying to say.
I see.
It's not gonna create a real problem with erosion, just the water running off those trackers,
Well,
probably.
we're gonna be generally saying that erosion is an issue and it should be addressed,
They
so.
have to do whatever's necessary.
Yeah, whatever's necessary. So, I mean, what I could do is send the draft to David, and then David could send it to everybody,
And you have a meeting between now and
oh, okay.
the zoning board meeting.
Yeah, so that's best, so
Yeah.
everybody can look at it and then make changes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right,
I guess to address Tim's point, it's important that not just like the original, hydro seeding and all that, but if for some reason the vegetation doesn't take, and to Tim's point, if there's more water coming off well, hopefully it'll be vertical, and it won't be when it's raining, but, there could be more, and just to be sure that trenched area does get revegetated is the main point. So, that it get, reviewed in a year, and the owner, reseed or,
Fix it.
additional, steps to ensure that there's.
So do you want me to add something
It
about?
just seems like that's reasonable, cause one of the reasons, we're supposed to be looking at erosion control is, in the steep slope district, and,
But as you said, this one feature of the solar tracker versus fixed panels
Yeah.
is they go vertical
right,
in the presence of storms, so
Right. there shouldn't
the
be.
collecting, yeah, no, I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
there shouldn't be, and it's certainly reasonable
Yeah.
to, reassess the area once it's had a chance to grow in,
Yeah.
to see if further mitigations are.
Right, well, you have a
Right.
9,000 pound, two of them, the concrete blocks that are no longer, pervious area, and that's different, but,
Yeah.
whatever. So, the main thing is that it be vegetated, and so that we don't have erosion.
Mhm.
All right, so I'll add,
Fix any
A
future.
follow-up.
a future review.
Right.
Yeah, just that
Yeah.
we checked especially after the first season, and to make sure next spring that, you've got stuff coming in.
Okay. All right, so, are we good? All right, thank you very much, and thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Mr. Lutz.
Good to meet you.
Dave, will you be sending something on to this, Dave, as far as the actual mitigation strategy?
Oh, you're muted.
You're
You're muted, sorry.
There we
Muted.
go, yeah. I would send a note to David Robbins just to say that we will provide an erosion control plan that will be recommended by E.J. Prescott, the company that we contracted to do a soil test and everything else, so
Great,
we'll provide that.
Perfect.
Okay.
thank you all, appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck.
E.J. Prescott.
Okay, moving right along, Ray.
Good evening.
Good evening. Okay, anything you'd like to tell us?
Let's see, you've all seen me here before. I think you're familiar with, most of you, with my project. Let me be candid and say I was shocked and surprised to hear that the approval which you gave 3 years ago, I think,
Yep.
for development of a condominium of 5 units at 14 on the Common did not include a subdivision to create those condominiums, as I understand it. Dave, is that accurate?
Yep.
So, I don't know whether that's an RSA requirement or a duplication of effort in Lyme's zoning ordinances, but I'm here to pursue that application to complete the subdivision by creating individual units, 5 of them at 14 on the Common. They are, 4 of them are, 2 of them are completed, 2 of them are very close to completion, and we are transitioning to the 5th one, the barn, which is the last unit to be completed. All of the infrastructure is in place, driveways, underground power, new well, and new septic system. And let's see, all of the other site work has been done, although it needs a final sort of skim coating of materials. But yeah, the septic system, let's see, propane tanks have been removed, and let's see, trees have been protected, erosion control fencing's been installed. I think all of the original requirements of the approval have been met, and this is sort of the final legal threshold across. I believe that you have copies of the condominium documents.
Yep.
Yeah, it really seemed regular. Did you write that, Ray? Or it
I
almost
did.
seems-
I
It almost
stayed
seems like
up
an
late.
attorney wrote it.
Yeah, well, it's surprising, Tim, but no, I really studied
The
hard.
suspense, you know, before the reveal at the end was really,
The surprise
yeah,
ending.
the surprise ending was just amazing. Okay, more, or?
No, I think that's it. You know, it's a process of many, many steps, and I appreciate the fact that this one needs to be completed for the planning board, and happy to answer any questions that you might have. I think you may remember better than I do some of the other stipulations with regard to tree protection, exterior lighting, et cetera, but I think all of those have been, you know, addressed.
Yeah, those are all in the site plan review, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that right, Dave?
Yep.
Yes, I mean, those are pre-existing.
Yep.
This is a narrow, requirement.
Review, yeah, yeah.
So shall we go through the checklist?
Yep.
We need to do that, right?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I've gone through this, and because you have pretty much everything on this list from the site plan review, there is not a lot that I feel is pertinent here, and I think most of this can be waived.
Okay, so let's go through
Yep.
that. So names and addresses.
Yes.
We obviously have those, yes.
Yes.
Names, businesses of every engineer,
Yep.
blah, blah, blah. Yes?
Yes.
Topographic map,
This is one I think, again, should be waived because Jim Kennedy had done some
Right.
great maps for the site plan review, and I would waive it, noting that we have all that, I think pretty much all the maps from site plan review.
okay, so existing,
Yes,
okay. So are you saying all of this stuff in this, in the conservation, that's all the same?
yep,
Okay, so I'll just put, and now we go to C, subdivision layout map.
again, there is no subdivision layout, but, you know, reading the condo docs, it describes where
Right,
the
so,
boundaries.
so,
Can I just ask a question about that?
yeah,
Because usually there's a plan that gets recorded with your declaration.
That is
Do you-
true,
Do you
yeah.
have that?
I certainly do. We haven't recorded it because it'll happen as the sales
Right.
are enacted, but yes, we do have
So
it.
you had a surveyor prepare that and?
Yes.
Based on the building footprints as they are today and all that?
Yes, and it delineates, let's see, common land, limited common
Yep.
land, and et cetera,
Yeah,
yeah.
because I think we should get a copy of that when you.
I think you will, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Because you'll get the recorded documents, I think, you'll get Mylar copies of the floor plans. I know the county
Yep.
registry gets them.
As long as I can get paper copies or even electronic copies and I can print them out, it's not.
Yeah, just so we have that as our record of what you finally ended up with, because I know that things change, and just to have, you know, all the hardscape improvements shown as they've been built and all that makes a difference, so great. So that would be satisfying for me for this C, so we would get that.
all right,
when,
so for C,
yeah.
so what specifically are you asking for?
It's, is it the,
Subdivision
Condominium.
plan.
well, it's a condo plat, isn't it, or something? There's a name
Yes,
for it.
let's see, they're actually referring to it as a site plan, which I found confusing, because that's
Yeah.
Jim Kennedy's territory, but no, it's
Right.
not a survey, it's a site plan, and it has the condo boundaries
Right.
specified on
Let
it.
me see if it says that in the, whatever it says in your.
Well, in terms of the boundaries,
No, just
Oh.
what they call it in the declaration, you can go on, just, they
Okay.
have a specific term, so.
one thing I'd like to do, if the board agrees, we have to have findings, and one finding I would recommend is something to the effect as defined, where is it? In the, if I could read my writing. Anyway, there's the condominium declaration, Article 1:16 and Article 4, A through D defines the boundaries of the subdivision, of the units, which is the subdivision.
Oh, yeah, because it has the horizontal boundaries, the vertical boundaries, the description of land. It just doesn't, I'm not seeing a reference to the, it's noted on site plans filed with the registry of deeds. So they call them site plans, so we might wanna say the condominium site plans or something like that. 'Cause,
Condominium what?
The condominium site plans, because they're not like our site plan, but
Right.
they are called site plans here in the declaration.
Okay, so that'll be a condition,
If we get a copy.
okay.
Yeah.
And the finding is the definition of the
Right,
the units.
So you have that site plan already?
Yeah, I
Okay.
do. Unfortunately, I'm not able to get on the Wi-Fi here, but I could certainly send it to you when I get home.
That's I want to make sure that it's a condition that you're not hung up because of,
Right. The password's right here, is that the problem?
it's
Yeah, I know, but-
capital LYME
Yeah,
and
but
then
when I
3768.
Bring it up, I'm getting like multiple different Wi-Fi, so which one is it?
Line public?
Line private, line public, okay, let me try that one.
Okay, and another, in the meantime, David, another finding is that no new lots will be created.
Well,
That's what we did last time.
oh, okay,
I
so
wanna
there's no
keep it
chance of
consistent.
getting more,
No,
lots
it's
in
just
back?
that, it's not ever.
Oh, okay,
It's just this condo subdivision does not create, it's a finding.
right,
It's
oh,
not
so
a-
yeah,
it's
so
not
like
a
boundary line
condition or
adjustment
anything like
something.
that.
Okay, so this does not create new lots. but
Right.
There could be the possibility of getting
course,
more,
yeah.
yeah.
I might point out that what we have was created under the Lyme Senior Housing District, which no longer exists, so,
Right.
you know, it's unlikely that,
But it's possible. I mean, actually, under current zoning,
yeah,
even without that, it is possible. It
okay.
might not be something you would like to do, but,
I think it'd be my undoing, I'm afraid.
all right. So let's keep going. We're up to the site survey map.
And again, the one from the site plan review
It's existing.
is existing.
And-
Okay, so can we just go all the way through this whole page? This is,
Yep.
all right. And then, we're on page 3. So the 13 is included in that existing? And
First
14,
order, yeah.
13 and 14?
Yep.
Okay. And then we get to the final plat.
Yep.
What do you want?
That's going to be the plan that Ray is sending me.
Okay, so that's to come, right? Lot size and density calculation,
Again, that was all done with
okay.
site plan review.
Can I go down this whole page, or is there anything else?
Sewage disposal, I would note that a new system has been installed, state-approved system has been installed, so we
We'll
know.
put that under yes.
Yep.
That should be on its way to you, you're welcome to look at it if you want.
Okay, so that covers that whole section. Right? We're good with that? Part 4?
Do you need the statement from a septic designer or?
It's already been.
I have
Yeah,
the
I
state
think he's
septic,
been through that.
I have the actual septic plans approval from the state.
Okay, so that, David, section 4 is okay?
Yes,
Sewage
Soil
disposal.
tests,
What's that?
soil tests,
We
I
don't
assume
need them
that's
if
all
we already have
right.
I don't think it came through Ray.
All right, retry again.
assume
I think-
David has those.
Well, the septic plan has got soil
This-
tests on it.
It's an approved
Right.
state
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
Right.
It's fine.
All right, surface water runoff, that's
Again, site plan review.
Yeah,
Existing.
yeah.
okay, all of this stuff.
Yep.
Okay, then, Title VII,
Yep. And-
that's existing too, right?
Yep, and as they get sold, we will get copies of the condominium, or of the deeds.
Okay, and national flood insurance,
Is irrelevant right now,
okay.
or on that site.
All right, so,
Hopefully.
so can we all agree that,
It's complete.
it's complete?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, do we need to do a formal vote on that, David?
Yes, we do.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to accept the checklist as complete.
I'll
Is there-
second that.
Vicky seconds, all those in favor? All those opposed? All right,
And can I ask you to modify, is the application is complete? This is what the checklist,
oh, yes,
Verifies that
okay,
the application is-
the application is complete, yes. Consider it modified. Okay. So we have public, are you here for this?
Yeah, just wanted to hear what was happening with
Oh,
number
okay.
14.
Do you have anything you wanted to say?
Just a question, Ray, so that means you, in the current plan, there's no plan now for the, 1, 2, 3, fourth building in the back?
That's correct.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know, thank you.
Okay, Lenore? Okay,
Although it sounds like, who knows about the future, but
Who
I
knows about
don't
the
have
future?
any plans for it.
Okay,
okay, are there other questions?
So I guess I have a question about what this side conversation is about. So did we approve
If
something
you could
bigger than
get
what
that
he has built?
to you,
No.
I can do it from home, I just.
why don't you do it from home? There's no
They're
rush.
just going over where they can get their hands on the site plan,
No,
condo site plan.
the question I think that addresses your question, or the answer is, Ray initially came in with an application for another building farther from the road.
Yeah.
And he's not doing that.
that's all.
His current application
Yeah.
that we're talking about today does not have that there.
Correct.
And then the question to Ray was, are you thinking about doing more? And Ray, it sounds like Ray's had enough fun.
I think that would be true.
Now for now.
Yeah.
Okay,
So the
But to
barn
be
is just
clear,
one
the site plan review that we
The barn is just
previously
one?
approved had another building?
No,
No.
I
No.
don't think so, no.
No.
It was
No.
just discussed.
there,
Well, there
there
was
was the
some-
there was some
possibility.
discussion about it, but
Possibility.
it was not it was not part of the application.
Right.
And
Oh, yeah,
I actually had a question. This is here as a minor subdivision. I'm not clear what the difference is.
It's not defined well, it's something that the planning
Okay.
board should look into from the subdivision regulations, but a minor subdivision, or a major subdivision, it talks about a condominium that has 3 units per building. And since there are only 2 units per building, I felt that this was, would be considered a minor
Okay.
subdivision. I don't,
Alright.
it had to fit somewhere, and
Mhm.
because the major subdivision was clear, saying 3 per building,
Mhm.
and that didn't meet that criteria, that said it had to default to a minor.
Okay, thank you.
yeah,
I'm sorry, I do have one more question. I just realized it. So, I'm Lori Wadsworth, I live next door. on
I
number
remember you,
12.
yes.
Okay. Just something you said, Ray, I didn't understand this, and I apologize that I'm not up on all the current things here, but this was created under the Lyme Senior Housing District, I remember that, but no longer exists?
no, there was,
No longer
there was
exists.
language, when we, I don't know whether you were at those meetings, but
I was at some of them.
we came up with a senior housing, the first senior housing article, and at the last minute, the state was putting forward the proposal that any senior housing incentives would apply to all other kinds of housing. So we scratched it at the end of the year, and at the beginning of the next year, we wrote it with a sunset clause that said if the state ever adds anything like that, it will automatically terminate. The state did add language that was not as wide, but did do that, and so it automatically terminated.
So for the whole town, not just for this project?
All the, within the zoning, the senior housing section has terminated.
Wow.
It's
I didn't
gone.
realize that.
And actually,
June 30th, right?
oh, it's June 1st, I think, or,
June,
I-
no,
I
thought
okay.
June 30th, okay,
I missed
so-
it. Okay.
July 1st, the new stuff went in.
yeah, thank you. Which is
So-
actually a good thing you did the subdivision now, because had you done it before then, those two other units, you would have had to adhere to the senior housing requirements of, and put the age requirements on those units.
That's my
So-
question, so you no longer have to do that.
That's
That's my understanding, because,
So we might have teenagers next door, okay.
You might.
Liven up the district a little bit, okay.
but yeah, because the senior housing terminates, I have no authority to go back and say, well, you didn't do these things, because it doesn't, they're not in the ordinance anymore.
Okay. That's
So-
fine.
So something was approved under a senior housing ordinance.
Yep.
The conditions of that were made at that time.
At that time,
How can the elimination of that ordinance eliminate the conditions of approval?
how can I enforce them if they don't exist?
It's not retroactive, right?
Right, if there was language in the ordinance that said that pre-existing projects still had to conform to that, then yes, I could go back and say, you still need to do this, but the language is gone.
So we have a lawyer here, David, what is your, well, you're all we got.
I'm inclined to side with Mr. Robbins on the statute. If it's out of the
This
statute.
Mr. Robbins?
If it's out of the statute, then
Right.
we can enforce it.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could see either way, but,
Yeah, because we didn't have a clause in there saying that it still.
Well, what I would do, because I like to, basically CYA, is have a paper trail somewhere where it says that is gone, so that anyone who's doing title work will
Oh.
know that there isn't that
That's
limitation.
why I've asked John to, and he asked me to ask the board to include that in the findings, that so that when the notice of decision comes out, there will be something in there that says that the zoning has terminated, and therefore the senior housing can't be rules cannot be enforced.
Well, it's something like
Well, I would say is
modify the
not.
conditions of our previous site plan approval is really what it is.
Yeah.
So that Ray isn't stuck with it, or, anyone who does title work doesn't find.
Right,
out
I
what's
absolutely agree with
come
that,
out in there.
100%.
Okay, so is everybody okay with David adding those,
Yes.
we're all good with that?
Could you repeat it back so that I'm sure that I agree with it?
Yeah.
And let me ask you, David, am I safe in saying that there aren't maybe any conditions as the development is currently built that would not have been allowable without the senior housing district?
Well, those two extra back units would not have been allowed without the senior housing.
Okay, there you go,
Ah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that's how they got in there.
I could do a conversion of the existing structures, which I did do.
Yep.
But when I separated,
Yep.
tearing off part of it,
yeah.
that makes
You
sense.
said that
You got to have your cake and eat it
senior housing thing
too.
went away because
Well,
the state
if it seems that
passed
way,
this.
to you.
We had, so, yeah, so,
It's chaos for me.
yeah, we had a sunset provision if the state did that.
So does the state's there's the conditions of the state's senior housing thing.
No, it wasn't a
In any
senior
way.
house, it doesn't
It
apply.
wasn't, it wouldn't apply.
It applied to, if you had a senior housing thing, that's why we had the sunset. So we don't have a senior housing thing, so their law doesn't apply.
Right.
Their law said if you had senior housing, then you had to enable
It was
workforce housing.
and
come
anywhere
in the same
in the town, no, not in the same.
But in the same density, you
You
know.
had to allow the same incentives
Right.
anywhere in town.
is the
Oh, I
density.
see, so it was a mandate that sort
was a
of came
mandate.
along
Yeah.
if you had such a program, so you
Right.
saw it in ahead of time and said,
Yeah,
Right.
well, then a day before
we
that comes into effect, we
what was
sunset
that
our
at the
program.
time?
Yeah, but we didn't really think it was gonna happen at the time, you know, we didn't think, oh, the state's never gonna do this, and they kind of
Oh,
surprised
no,
us.
that's not true.
Yeah,
What are you?
well, but I remember when we
No,
discussed it,
we
and we were
punted a
saying,
year because we thought it was gonna
Right,
happen.
yeah, no, we thought it was gonna
And then we wrote in
happen.
the kill clause.
That's why it was
So-
in there.
And there's no
I remember
unkill
saying-
clause, so if they undo that legislation,
No.
No,
nothing springs
No,
back into effect. We'd have to
then we
go
would
back.
just do it again.
We'd have to go do it again, but this project would be on.
This project was
One of a
a
kind.
special project.
Yeah,
I think, you had to ask the question.
Yes.
I'm going to add a finding to the
Perfect.
decision notice that basically says that the 2 units that were built under the senior housing are no longer required to conform to that because the senior housing
Okay.
requirements have been
No longer
terminated
exempt, yeah.
because of whatever reason. I won't get really.
You don't have to go, all you have to say is that it had
It's
been
terminated.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I
that-
would feel better if you could actually cite that approval, and if there are specific conditions that we put about age in there, to make sure that that is also mentioned.
Sure.
So that, you know, really clear paper trail.
Yeah.
Because everybody gets old and forgets,
And we'll move into
Yeah.
Ray's senior
Right.
housing
Well, not anymore.
development because we don't remember that.
Anyway, it's just something there to say, so that people will see a paper trail that says you are not bound by
but
those.
we, I remember.
Rules
discussing-
What's your
we said
concern,
we don't
Vicky,
think
is
the
that
state's gonna
someone
do
sees
that.
that
That's
as a
not
title
true.
search
Well, we
and
talked
then
about that at the
they
meeting.
won't come
They-
down it or they
they-
won't,
they
insurance.
said-
Okay, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
You're not
because this is
complying
so
with
it.
different,
Just in
yeah,
case.
yeah, and that we need to clear that up
Okay,
for
so
everybody's benefit.
I remember Vicky's comment when we were going through the original approval, somewhat in dismay, disappointment. So that's it, that's what we get for our senior housing ordinance. And now, as it turns out, you don't even get that, so.
Right,
Yeah, it was
a valiant effort.
It was a valiant
right.
effort.
It was a valiant effort.
It took
Their
years.
wisdom screwed it up.
Anyway, so what, you're gonna write
I'll
up,
write up the notice of decision.
and what else do we have to vote on? We have to
You
vote
on
on,
the application to approve.
okay,
The
so,
subdivision.
yeah, I'd like to move to approve the application for a condo subdivision. Is there a second?
Yep.
Vicky is getting in there now. Okay, so Vicky seconds, all those in favor? All those opposed? None. All right, there you go.
Thank you all for your patience, and I do appreciate it, and what more can I say?
There you have it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Okay. So, thank you for, doing your work. And, so we're all set up, and you're gonna erase anything that people might have sent in?
Oh,
Well, I just said, please try it, exercise it, and
Yeah,
then
I
we'll
said-
have an
I
official,
sent it in.
then we'll have an official start date.
And that'll-
When we
The link
open it
works.
to the comment.
And that'll clear.
And then we'll, I mean, they're all date stamped, anything you do is gonna have a date stamp on it.
Okay, but all I'm asking is anything that's on there now will not be applicable.
No.
That's
Okay,
right.
we'll-
that's just a question.
Yeah.
Can
Okay,
we take off the version 8/15/23 on the link? This, you know, Lyme solar survey version, so that.
I was, the problem at the moment is that I think we need to have a date stamp on it. It's just that I haven't figured out how to manage the font in Google Survey yet.
Okay,
We need to put that, we need to have some kind of version on, because in the next 3 weeks, you could come up with something you wanna change.
Okay,
Oh,
well, I
we
just,
should-
you know, cause I get suspicious, well, why am I doing this version and not some other version, you
Hmm.
know, so
I know, it just.
maybe just take off the word version, and,
Sure.
and then we just have a
Sure.
date on it.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure,
Okay,
Good
Yeah.
thought.
that's good.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine,
so then,
And leave it the
Right.
font,
Okay,
just take off
yeah.
the word
Yeah.
version. But it looks good, and, yeah,
so
I-
Dave,
I'm looking at the results here, we have four
Yeah.
responses so far.
Did you see the cheater?
Well, there's three interesting responses.
but
One-
they're all Rich Mengy.
Well, no, one of them says this is Rich Brown. You know, the one before me says pickles are good.
Who's that?
I don't
It
know.
wasn't me.
Pickles are good.
It wasn't me.
Who's the pickle meister?
Me.
All right. And then there's just a bunch of random stuff. And 50% of the people say, of the four people that have answered, small scale is enough, and 50% said 2 or more. But I chose the first answer.
2 or more what?
2 or more acres, I'm sorry.
2 or more?
That's,
That's an option? I thought it was.
No, 2 or
2 acres
less.
or less.
Two or less.
yes,
Oh,
the other more. So, and I chose the first option.
What's the,
In
what's the,
each, just
oh, just to
so that
do,
when I go through and look at the data, which I've not done yet, but look in the spreadsheet, the first box in each of my entries should be checked. Just testing out,
you're exercising all the software.
yes,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
what software people do, they
Okay.
really,
We
they
try to
break
break it,
Well,
They
well,
try to break it.
we try to break it.
well, that's the right thing to do.
Yeah,
I hold
that's
down the
great.
shift key and start clicking.
so it passed the test.
Well, I haven't looked at the
Everything
data yet, I just, you know,
Yeah, but I mean, it works.
Oh,
It works.
this is absolutely foolproof
How to
and
do
fail-safe.
stuff that you need
There's
to-
no chance of any,
Yes,
and then they make a new
Cat on
breed
the
of
space
tools.
bar is a good one.
19 years developing software.
Yeah.
so,
Yep.
David, you're going to, your timing is such that you'll get this done sometime, at least the paper stuff, sometime at the beginning of September.
Yeah, I'm gonna start this week, talking to Staples. So what I'm going to do is have them, first of all, I need the original doc from you because the PDF prints out sideways a little bit.
Not really, it doesn't.
You should be able just to send it to them in a digital form, you know, shouldn't.
Right, but the PDF that I
I
have,
don't think, I
That-
think that's something with your printer.
Yeah,
I won't argue that, because
Prints out straight for, look, Rich,
yours is great, okay, then it's gotta be.
I PDF'd it because people were having the tab leaders that are the underscores were not printing in some people's versions of Word. So I
But
made
then
it
it's
into a
not,
PDF.
if it's our printer, I am
Yeah.
not
So,
so shocked about that at all. So I will take and get hold of Staples. I'm gonna have them stick this on a single-sided or double-sided and do 2 in each envelope and do, local postal patron envelopes, stuff them. And then we'll get them to the post office.
and we want the deadline to be prior to our second meeting, so that we can actually
Yeah,
work.
like I say, I'll get them out as soon as I can.
Yeah, so it should be at least 2 weeks before our second meeting,
Second meeting in what month?
September.
It's the 28th.
Because we decided, just for review, that it should go out in September when everybody's back.
Right,
But we don't, last time we gave 2 weeks, and it was plenty. And we need to start adding up stuff and all of that, tabulating.
So like I say, I will get it out as soon as I can, but I am still bound by Staples schedules,
Okay.
so,
Are we sending it, the hard copies with a return envelope?
no.
I would suggest that we do that, it makes it much easier.
When is the next select board meeting?
Uh,
Because I'm gonna have to ask for money.
When we added envelopes to our tax bills for the entire town, it cost $45. I don't know, maybe Staples will be more money, but, or at least,
Well,
no postage,
I'll
just
leave.
return,
no postage.
right.
Yeah.
People can put a stamp on it,
Right.
but it just makes it easier if they don't have to dig up an envelope and fill it out.
Yeah, if
Or
it
will
only
you-
costs 25 bucks, it sounds like it's
You,
worth it.
you two guys can work that out.
Yeah, I will check with Staples and see, you know, if that's something they can do.
If they can do it at a reasonable cost.
Yeah.
They need to have the return address on the envelope though, right?
That's right.
Can't be a blank envelope. and
Yeah,
have-
yeah,
Right, but
they'd
it's
have
easy.
to stamp their name or something, you know.
Well,
No,
they'll
stamp town
photocopy
line.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah, the address will be the town of Lyme, but
Yes.
the return address, some of people have to write in or stamp on
Or not do
Or
it.
nothing.
or not do it.
Or nothing.
Yeah.
no, it's
Right.
confidential.
And I did speak to Judy, and she's happy to have paper copies in a box
Yeah,
for
that'd be
returns
great.
there, and she'll bookmark it on the town computers and help
Great,
anybody who
great.
needs it.
Yeah,
save
the
us
cost
paying.
for adding envelopes to the mailing isn't, you know, exorbitant.
If it's
The select
in-
board will be fine with it,
Yeah, I think I can probably squeeze, I'm taking away all the training budget for this, so. We can work that, I just,
All right, you
I don't
two,
know if
we'll
they're
leave
gonna
it
be
to
able
you
to,
guys.
you know, to
You're,
put an
you're a
envelope,
sub-
we gotta
you're a
do a bigger
subcommittee
envelope.
of the return.
Well, it can be folded.
mailing.
Yeah, so, yeah,
Just,
well,
just get a cheap return envelope, because sometimes the weight of the envelope plus, where we have two
Two sheets.
sheets plus a cover sheet, so there's actually three sheets.
No, it's one sheet, double-sided.
One sheet double-sided?
Yeah.
Oh,
Twice.
for each twice, okay, so
For
just
twice.
two, okay, good.
All right,
So it's gonna look like
Yes,
this.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
is there anything else we need to do?
Do we have a return date on this information to say, get it back to us by
We
such
should.
and such a date?
What's our second meeting date in September?
28th.
So we should have it back by
The 21st.
21st?
Are we tabulating on the 28th, or is it gonna be tabulated in advance of that meeting?
You mean magically tabulated? I mean,
No, I mean-
the stuff online will be
It's magically
tabulated.
tabulated,
But the paper stuff, we're gonna have to
so are
tabulate.
we doing that on the 28th?
That seemed, I mean,
Oh, okay,
when,
then we
we
should have a
can
return
have a
plan.
meeting, what?
You don't, it's not a group activity.
Oh, yes, it
Well,
is.
fun.
Yeah, we
Actually,
did
We did it last
Yeah,
time.
Rich and
Yeah.
Right, I
John
mean,
and I did it the last time.
we got a bunch of people, Chris.
No, it was
Robinson
more,
there.
it was a ton of people.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I remember one
It's
time.
not gonna
we
be
went-
that hard to tabulate all 7 returns.
No, we got 150 paper returns last
we
time.
got many paper returns.
Yeah.
I expect we'll get a lot of paper
Remember
returns.
Yeah, I think so,
Saturday
too.
I think we'll get a lot of computer returns too.
Yeah.
Well, can we just do that without having a quorum or something and do it?
Well, if we're all,
on an
well,
afternoon or
David,
something?
what,
If you have a quorum, it has to be a noticed meeting.
so do
and
we
it has to be-
wanna, let's ask the question, do we wanna have a meeting on the 21st to, it doesn't have to be everybody, but whoever's willing to come for tabulation?
I won't be here on the 21st, so.
When will you be here?
I will be here on the 28th,
Oh.
but I won't be here on the 21st.
What about the 22nd?
Nope.
What about the 23rd?
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
that's-
Vicky won't be
yeah.
here.
No, that
And are you
21st
talking
is
about being here at night or during the day?
We don't have to be here at night.
We did it
Because
during
the
the
zoning
day
board is
before.
going to be meeting
I
here
would say
that,
during the day would be
During the day
better,
would be better, yeah.
but
What
if you're
time?
not coming-
the zoning board meets at 7.
But, so anytime during the day?
Anytime during the day.
7 AM would be good.
No, forget it.
Well, you can come at 7 AM, but the doors won't be open.
I could be here,
Thursday.
Not the middle of the day, cause that really screws stuff up.
well, what do you
Either
what do you
early or late.
define as the middle of the day? 8 o'clock?
No, 9 to 3 or something, 9 to 4.
Well, I can't get here before, I could get here at 9:30.
Yeah, that's good.
What day are you thinking of, Thursday?
Thursday,
The
21st.
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 Oh, okay.
It's a week before the meeting,
Yeah.
regular meeting.
I think the select board's meeting
The select board meets
the
that day.
21st.
Okay,
But we could do it
We'll get the
on
select
the
board
table
to count.
there, right? We could do it.
Yeah, like,
How about if you do it on Monday, the 25th, that gives people a little bit
okay,
more
that's
time
fine with me.
Yep.
to
I
return
think,
up.
I think
I
it's fine
also
with
am
me.
not able to make a daytime
Okay.
meeting that day, but if you want to meet that evening, I'd be happy to do
Okay,
that.
let's meet that evening, because it gives me an extra opportunity to see Vicky.
Oh my gosh.
That is Yom Kippur, if anybody is concerned about
Oh.
that, but,
All right.
all right.
We'll be atoning for our
Okay, so
sins
Monday-
by.
Yeah, I won't be celebrating the atonement.
Apple doesn't lie.
Monday the twenty-fifth at 7 p.m.
The 25th is a Monday, right?
25th is a Monday.
Yep.
Is that okay with everybody?
Yep.
7 o'clock, are you thinking?
Yeah,
Okay.
Monday the 25th.
It is
at
Yom
7 p.m.
Mhm.
Yep,
And then we meet again on the 28th.
yep,
Yeah,
it's a twofer.
but we can have fun this go.
so that's Monday the
Well, it
20th?
gives somebody time to present take the tabulated data and turn it into information.
Right,
Right.
so Monday, is it the 25th?
Yep,
Yeah.
before we
Oh my gosh, 3.
confirm that, let me go check the notebook that has all the dates,
Okay,
just to,
Mhm.
And this means that I'm gonna have to add one more edit to the current version, so that's not the final version. Cause I'm gonna say return by
25th,
9/21.
9/20. Oh, right,
And then we
9/20.
can continue to accept them after the
Right.
deadline.
Obviously, right, but, you know, the three that come in.
Deadlines are liberating?
Yeah.
What time did we say, 7 o'clock?
Yeah. And,
So you're gonna put the-
and do add the language that any
Yes.
questionnaires that come in late, paper questionnaires, will be burnt publicly.
With your name on it.
With a reading, with a live reading. Okay,
So the meeting on the 25th is semi-optional?
yes,
um, As
Yeah.
long as you
So
guys.
nobody-
Monday, 2 or 3 people.
nobody will show up.
If you come, bring the beer.
Yeah, somebody should bring beer. It's like a beer
It's,
event.
it's a drinking
Are we,
meeting.
yeah, is this a non-drinking town office? I don't know.
No, it's not dry. It's-
Right, and the other thing, bring your laptop computer, because what we're gonna do is take the paper form and type it into the computer form.
Okay, my laptop is not dependable.
Well, we can cause them to be reliable laptops.
Well, if that's what you wanna do, why don't we just divide batches up and, cause
Do it at home.
do it at home. My,
Well,
my,
that's
No,
message
no, no,
data.
it should be public, no,
my
it should,
desktop computer is so much better than
no,
a
it
laptop.
should be public and,
Okay.
here.
yep, it's free, so I will.
So we're gonna put poll watchers and,
Yeah, we're gonna have poll watchers, we're gonna have,
we should probably get CNN here to make sure that the results aren't tampered with.
this election is rigged.
Armed guard.
I'll call Tom
So-
Toner, he'll come and watch the polls for us.
There we go.
So
So the next
Dave,
meeting
that
is the
means there's
14th.
one more version with
Yep,
the
that'll be
return
good.
date.
That'll
What,
get
are we
prior to
doing
this.
anything on
Is there
14th?
anything on that agenda yet?
We don't have an agenda for the 14th, no.
So I'm not gonna be here.
You're not gonna be here. Okay, we can do all the fun stuff on the
Right,
14th.
that's more about the drinking game.
Yeah, that's it.
In, pond?
Yeah, he actually believes that these are the planning board meetings.
He hasn't found out about the deep state
Yeah,
yet.
the deep state meeting.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
May I?
Oh, I know what you're gonna
offer a motion
say.
to adjourn.
Yes, I was waiting for that, so
Okay.
we're gone. Thank you very much.
So we have no agenda items on the 14th?
Currently, no.